Welcome back to Whispers of Turkish Stars, the corner of the internet where whispers turn into stories and private moments sometimes cross into the public eye. If you value thoughtful, respectful coverage that looks for the human pulse beneath the headlines, please subscribe and tap join to support our channel. Your encouragement helps us keep bringing you the narratives that matter. A subtle ripple started in Istanbul this week that quickly swelled into a wave across timelines and entertainment pages. What began as a quiet arrival at the airport evolved into a conversation many now interpret as the earliest steps toward a thaw between two of Turkey's most observed figures, a couple whose journey fans have traced across screens, sets, and social feeds. At the heart of it all was a visitor whose presence alone stirred attention. The mother of Barış Baktas, who returned discreetly to Turkey and arranged a private, deliberate meeting with actress Yağmur Yüksel. The encounter, kept purposefully understated, seemed tailored to stay out of the spotlight, yet it couldn't evade it. Witnesses described the two women finding each other in an intimate, tastefully chosen venue tucked into a quieter Istanbul neighborhood, a setting that favored privacy over flash. Those who were close enough to observe without intruding said the energy felt like two people intent on truly hearing one another. Laughter eased tension, affectionate gestures softened edges, and in the pauses, the thoughtful, weighty pauses, there was the unmistakable sense of carefully chosen words and shared history. For followers of Barış and Yağmur, who have watched their connection ebb and flow in the public sphere, the meeting didn't land like a casual courtesy. It felt like the prologue to a new chapter, the kind you open slowly because you suspect that the next page might change everything. As soon as the conversation ended, small photos and quick clips surfaced, fleeting snippets captured by onlookers and stitched across platforms within hours. In those snapshots, the warmth didn't look staged. Smiles reached the eyes. Shoulders angled toward each other rather than away. Observers described the air as restorative. As if the space between the two women had been cleared not just for pleasantries but for rebuilding. Insiders close to the family added context that transformed what could have been dismissed as a private exchange into a moment with cultural weight. According to those sources, the mother of Barış traveled not as a curious parent but as a thoughtful go-between. Someone who wanted to listen to Yağmur directly, to hear her side without the static of rumor, and to signal that the family was ready to leave the past in the past. Whether this mission was laid out in advance or born from a spontaneous impulse, witnesses sensed intention in every minute. This wasn't about optics. It felt like repair work. In many families, a parent's involvement marks a shift from private emotion to something more established in public. When a story has been stretched and pulled by gossip, a mother's steady voice can ground it again. For admirers of Barış and Yağmur, those images of a gentle conversation, a hand brushing the table, a knowing look, a shared laugh, landed like balm. It wasn't proof of anything, not yet. But to many, it suggested a door being unlocked. And you, our viewers, are part of how these moments take shape online. What do you think? Was this a mother's heartfelt effort to mend what fame and time strained, or simply two people treating each other with civility and care while navigating complicated feelings? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this kind of thoughtful storytelling resonates with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and consider joining Whispers of Turkish Stars so we can continue offering you these quiet, careful deep dives. Back to the scene itself. Those present described the conversation as moving between light and grave. There were jokes and soft laughter, the kind that belongs to people with shared memories. But there were also moments when both women leaned in, voices softening as if certain truths could only be exchanged in a lowered tone. One neighbor, who spoke later to a local reporter, put it simply, it felt like two women putting everything on the table, not to create news, but to find clarity. That word, clarity, is what analysts have latched onto. When a parent and the person who once held her son's heart sit together with the intent of sorting through emotional history, it implies that the story might be about to turn. Naturally, fans began decoding every detail. In comment threads and fan groups, people wondered whether the mother's presence signaled blessing, a quiet kind of approval that would encourage Barış and Yağmur to consider their future with renewed confidence. Others were cautious, urging patience and perspective. A single meeting, no matter how sincere, is still just a single step. Yet for many, the symbolism was undeniable. A mother crossing borders for a conversation, not a photoshoot, reads as brave in a world that often asks public figures to trade privacy for attention. Entertainment columnists chimed in quickly. Some framed the visit as a strategic move, an understated public gesture designed to show unity, seriousness, and family values at a time when speculation had taken over. Others saw something more intimate, a mother tending to her son's heart by engaging respectfully with the woman he has cared about. Both angles gathered readers. Both fed a cultural appetite for stories where private choices meet public curiosity. Observers also noted the care taken in choosing a setting that belonged to the city but not to the crowds. The mother of Barış reportedly arrived with no entourage, moved quietly, and left without leaving a statement behind, allowing the images to carry the narrative. In an age of orchestration and controlled rollouts, the restraint read as intentional. Those familiar with the family suggested that this was never meant to be a spectacle. It was meant to be a conversation where fear had no seat at the table. For now, neither Barış Baktas nor Yağmur Yüksel has issued an official statement. Their silence has become its own kind of communication. By not rushing to define what the meeting means, they keep the possibility of private growth intact. That choice, protecting what is delicate instead of feeding the cycle, only heightens the speculation. Will this meeting lead to a public reunion, a creative collaboration, or simply serve as a careful moment of healing between two people who matter to each other, even if their path forward remains undefined? At Whispers of Turkish Stars, we try to hold these moments with nuance. Celebrity stories can be loud, real feelings are often quiet. A mother's visit can be a catalyst for repair rather than fodder for sensational headlines. If there's a takeaway from this week, it's the reminder that the most consequential steps often happen in small rooms where cameras can't quite fit, in conversations designed for sincerity, not virality. What happened outside the venue matters, too. After the meeting, the mother paused at the curb, speaking softly with a driver, then glanced back toward the door. It was a small moment, but to those waiting at a distance, it read like a silent wish for what might come next. Meanwhile, inside, Yağmur lingered for a few minutes, finishing a glass of tea and checking her phone before slipping out through a side entrance with her head down and her shoulders relaxed. No dramatics. No attempt to bend the narrative. Just two women who seemed to have said what needed saying. Sources connected to the production circles that orbit both Barış and Yağmur have also whispered that the tone of the conversation was consistently respectful. No raised voices. No pointed barbs. Instead, questions and answers. Stories revisited and reframed. One person who claims to have seen the first few minutes of the encounter described a decisive moment when a joke broke the ice and both women laughed, the kind of laugh that cracks open a closed door. Sometimes healing arrives not with a grand statement but with an uncomplicated smile. Of course, as commentary spread, skepticism did too. Some noted that reconciliation, if it comes, isn't built in a single sitting. It grows in the days afterward, when people honor boundaries, keep their word, and choose patience. Others pointed out that public support doesn't guarantee private alignment. Relationships need time to breathe away from the noise. But even the cautious voices agreed, a respectful meeting facilitated by family can change the temperature of a story. It can turn defensiveness into dialogue, and rumor into reflection. Cultural observers noted how the visit intersects with the couple's public image. Barış is seen as disciplined and grounded, the kind of figure who treats responsibilities seriously. Yağmur is known for grace balanced with steel, a presence that can be gentle without giving ground. In that light, the mother's role threads between them, bringing steadiness to the table and creating a space where vulnerability is not a liability. When pride bows to understanding, something brave enters the room. As the day turned to evening, a few more clips trickled online, a fleeting frame of the mother touching Yağmur's wrist as she made a point, a still image catching both of them smiling at the same joke, a final photo of the table after they left, 2 cups, a napkin folded into a small square, a phone face down as if to signal that for an hour or two, the outside world was being asked to wait. People read into the details because details are what we have when we're not invited to the whole conversation. By late night, hashtags churned without the couple's names attached, a sign that even fans were guarding their privacy. Instead, the language turned toward ideas like patience, hope, respect. A few fan accounts, normally quick to proclaim certainty, chose gentler captions, "Let time tell the story." It was a rare consensus in a fractured online world, and maybe that alone is meaningful. Another piece of the puzzle, the distance. Traveling for a conversation, when it would have been easier to send a message or a proxy, conveys a seriousness that no press release can match. It says, "I will show up." And showing up often matters more than getting every word right. It's the presence that changes tone, making room for apology, for understanding, for the quiet acknowledgement that people can outgrow old versions of themselves. So we wait, and we watch, carefully, hopefully, respectfully. Will there be a statement? Maybe. A shared project later this year? Possibly. Or perhaps the truth will remain between them, a private understanding that needs no headline to be real. At Whispers of Turkish Stars, we believe the best stories are the ones that honor that possibility, that let people be human even when the spotlight is bright. If you've stayed with us this far, thank you for choosing care over spectacle. Keep the conversation going below. Was this the first brick in a bridge back to each other, or simply a much-needed moment of closure and kindness? If you want more stories handled with empathy, subscribe and tap join so we can keep doing this work. Until the next update, stay curious, stay kind, and keep your eyes open for the quiet turning points that, without fanfare, change everything.